Good evening. The Toronto Raptors win 112-105 against the Phoenix Suns. Yes, you heard that correctly. Uh, Bounce back win for the team. Nobody really saw this coming. I'm not going to talk about the sleep schedule because the broadcast mentioned it about 68 times, but everybody kind of knows they didn't have much sleep. And it was a wild fourth quarter because kind of with the game on the line, really close. Darko throws out the Scottie and bench lineup, which has been a huge talking point. I think they even ran through the numbers in the pregame, and it's just been a very like bad lineup. Um, from the eye test and from the numbers, it's just not been good. So I was shocked when I saw it, and especially when one of the bench guys is Jalen McDaniels, who was like out of the rotation 3 days ago against the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant's on this team, Devin Booker's on this team. I think the bench lineup was out, but still, like, this is a team on a seven-game win streak, and throws out Scottie plus bench, and I think they went on like a 14-6 run. So, or no, 11-2 run. There was another 14-6 run. But an 11-2 run with Scottie plus bench. We'll talk about like the individual players. Precious, obviously, big bounce back game. What was really funny right after that was Scottie plus bench worked out so well that they decided to try OG plus bench, which lasted, I think, 20 seconds, and then they called the timeout. So I don't know what that was. That was one of the weirder lineup constructions I've seen from Darko, OG plus bench. But ultimately, a more sensible lineup came into the game and closed things out. But really, I mean, down the stretch, it was Scottie. I thought Scottie and Pascal were both pretty slow in the first half. Pascal had a pretty off game. I think he shot like 6 for 81, something like that. But in the first half, like the Dennis and Jakob pick and roll was like super effective. It was pretty much the entire Raptors like offense, basically, like as what everything was being created out of. And I thought Scottie was, like, they talked about on the broadcast too, like just kind of listless, not super involved. And then I don't know, I was kind of making the comparison to like Jimmy Butler seems to always just, I don't know, like an approach to the game where it's like now that now that it's super clutch, it's time to kind of take over. And that's why that bench unit worked this time. And it hasn't worked in the past, because in the past you'd have like Malachi bringing the ball up and like doing whatever Malachi does, pass and cut. That's the big Malachi plays. He passed and then he cut. It's huge. Or a back screen on a Spain pick and roll, but pass and cut. That's the big play. But I felt like in this lineup it was Scottie being really aggressive and like looking for his shot, and then dishing it out to guys like Gary who played well. But he was just way more aggressive like in the bench lineups, and I don't really know why that hasn't been a case in the past. But yeah, in this instance, he just really took over, because the Jakob Dennis magic. Dennis had some big plays down the stretch, but that had kind of like dried up a little bit. I think the Suns kind of switched their coverages, and it was up to Scottie to kind of come in and run the show on a. I think OG had one bucket in the second half, and Pascal again wasn't hitting anything, and it was a weird game from the Suns as well. Like, I'll be honest, I haven't watched a ton of Suns this year. But I was kind of thinking during this game, like, man, it'd be really nice if they had Bradley Beal. Because, yeah, Booker had a really off game. He got injured kind of halfway through. He's coming back off an injury as well. He just didn't look right. He's one of my favorite players to watch, and this was just not a notable Booker game. I thought Scottie and OG played really good defense against Booker, and he played good defense against KD, but I mean, it's Like PJ Tucker gets credited with playing good defense against him, and then KD will drop like 80 points on him. So, um, but yeah, this iteration of the Suns, I was kind of thinking, is like just the antithesis to the 2000 Suns, which was all about like ball movement and like kind of spread out scoring. This is a very ISO heavy team, and the talent gap from the stars to the bench is pretty massive. Like I thought the Raptors bench really outplayed the Suns bench, which now kind of low key storyline. The Raptors bench has been playing a lot better the last few games, just in general. Like as a whole, as a unit, maybe not every individual player. I thought it was weird that that McDaniels was ahead of Boucher in the rotation now for this one, like down the stretch. I thought that was kind of odd. But Gary's been a lot better. Precious was really good this game. He had there was one play where I'm sure everybody remembers. I think it was in the third quarter. It was like 4 or 5 offensive rebounds, and I think Precious had like 3 of them in that play. But he just looked a lot more confident, but it's like we've seen these games from Precious. It's like hopefully we can get 2 of these in a row. That'd be cool. But yeah, you got to be, if you've got Precious to chew a stock, you've got to be happy with the performance today. I didn't think he was getting cooked on defense either. He's had some pretty bad like help rotations. I didn't think he was like super exposed. And yeah, him and Gary, they pretty much like outplayed. I kept wait. I'm like, where's Campaign? And then I was like, oh yeah, he's not here anymore. They're not super deep on like, they're just not super deep. Like the Phoenix Suns are just not a super deep team. So if you don't have Bradley Beal, you don't have Devin Booker. Yeah, I mean, I thought Nurkic played like okay. He misses. Booker. One of my favorite things about this game was I just kept noticing how he had all of these like rips in his shirt. Like he basically did what I do, which is crazy because he's super rich. But it looked like is my mic getting really loud? It's been doing that once in a while lately. But yeah, Booker had like a tattered up shirt, which was like really visible under the jersey, and it just reminded me of all the bad like tank top cuts that I've made in my life. Usually they're really strict on that stuff. I don't know if anybody else noticed that.
Is my mic?
How's my audio, by the way? Is it being weird? It's just sometimes it just like bugs out like that. I don't know if it's the microphone, but yeah, the Raptors, they get in at like 4 a.m, and I don't know. I think in a game like this, just kind of looking at my notes, I thought Pascal played like kind of poorly, and I don't think the broadcast ever like says anything. I think that's part of the reason why he has people that like don't like him. I think they just need to be more honest in general about the players. I had a great kick out of Kayla Gray. It's almost like I think about scripting like a comedy series based around a sports broadcast. Like this is the type of thing I think of. And she just had a perfect thing where she was like doing one of her like, I talked to whoever the fuck, just some whatever story. And Precious had a huge, like one of the plays of the game, like massive dunk. And it was right kind of like, it just got cut off her monologue. And it's always so awkward when that happens because Matt has to like interrupt what she's saying and scream like, Achua! And then there's like silence after, and the story just is like left. They just leave the story like up in the air. Like it's just a half told story. And then the game just continues as if it never happened. And that was like one of the more egregious versions of that. So that got me really excited. I was like writing that down and got really excited about that. We got Bill Kennedy, who is a replica of Rob Schneider. Just his mannerisms, like the way he talks, the way he approaches the mic. He had a moment in a game a couple days ago where he like didn't realize how loud the mic was, just like me right now on this stream. And he just made this face, and it was just like, it's just so Rob Schneider. The refs were really letting a lot of calls go, which is how I think he's a pretty good ref, like in general. Like I don't really remember a ton of incidents with him, and seems to just kind of not really give a fuck. Like, you can kind of hit people a little bit, and we didn't have 8 million free throws. I guess that's good for the Raptors. But just in general, it's just a more enjoyable experience when the refs aren't blowing the whistle every 4 seconds. So I want to commend the reffing crew, actually, like, unironically. I just thought that it was more of a playoff, had more of a playoff feel to it. Like, you could actually like make contact with people. So just in general, yeah, maybe a few missed calls as usual, but Precious had a bounce back game, but he continues to just set these really weird screens on the perimeter. And the next video I'm working on, probably be out tomorrow or the next day. But yeah, that's like one thing he really, because Darko had like kind of a crazy reaction to it. So that's why it's a good video. And then he like yells at the coach in the back row. KD got teed up in this game in the second quarter, and I'm pretty sure it was just for being sarcastic, because they warned him about moving off his like spot on the block during the free throw, and he just made this like motion and cracked a joke, and then they called the tech, and like I don't think there was anything else that it like could have been. So that could be a video just like KD gets teed up for sarcasm. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, like it was a weird game from Booker. And like by the end of the first half, I've got Scottie not aggro, Siakam inefficient, Dennis 10 assists. So I don't know what that offense would have been, especially in the first half without Dennis. He just was creating like advantages by blowing by guys, and then great passes. Him and Jakob maybe had their best game, probably, especially like in the first half. They just have a really good chemistry, and we got to call it like the German pick and roll or something. We got the Spain pick and roll. These guys both speak, I guess, is it Austrian German? It's like a different dialect of German, but so I think like the German pick and roll, because they really carried it in the first half. And then, Phoenix comes out 12-2 run in the third quarter, and you just kind of like, I kind of thought at that point, because at the half, I think the Raptors were up by like 8, and then it really kind of flipped. Like it felt like something we've seen many times this year and in past years. But then again, as I said off the top, it was Scottie being really aggressive, like driving, kicking it to Gary for like open threes. He creates so much. I think it's like something that he doesn't realize maybe sometimes, like how much havoc he can create when he drives, because in the first half it just like wasn't really there. And I think he wants to be this like facilitator. Well, he does. Like he wants to be like a facilitator type player. But it's just got to get like drilled in even more, like how effective or how much more effective he is when he is in that killer mode. Because when he's aggressive like that, teams like freak out, because he's so fast, he's so big, he has so much length, he has handle, he can go one really underrated aspect about him that not enough people talk about, myself included, is the dexterity. His dexterity is insane. Like he's almost as good with his left within 10 feet. Like I don't think he's taking threes with his left, but like within 10 feet, his ability to go right or left, so that just opens up so many more lanes for him, so many more spots he can get shots off. And he can do that so much quicker, because a lot of times, like guys, if they're right-handed, they have to get into, an advantageous position for shooting right-handed. We've seen like Jordan Poole, extreme example, but Jordan Poole like on the left side going up right-handed, doing these like weird spins and just having it miss by like 20 feet. Whereas Scottie will like always take the fundamentally right shot. I don't mean right, like I mean the fundamentally correct shot, whether he's on the left side, on the right side, like where he's cutting from. And that just makes him like, when he gets into that area, and that's where he gets so many of his like open kickouts to guys like Gary, guys like OG. But in the first half, it's just like, it's hard, because it's like, how does the this is kind of the existential question for this team. I think the two most effective things for this team offensively is Scottie being aggressive and making plays, and then Dennis Jakob pick and roll. They don't ever really seem to be killing in sync, but I don't know if you how you could really do that. Maybe I'm not saying you can't, but if they can figure that out, that I think is the recipe for this team to be like really effective. Because this game you really saw it was like passing the torch. It was like first half, Scottie and Siakam, outside of on offense, I'm talking about on defense. I thought Scottie was really good on defense. Siakam too. Siakam actually no, I don't. He had a few like possessions that they highlighted, moving his feet really well. But yeah, I thought Scottie did a really good job on KD, and then Booker at times as well. Like there was a lot of times where Booker was seemingly open from the perimeter, and Scottie would just like bolt out at a million miles an hour, and Booker shot really poorly. And a big reason for that is a lot of the times like you've got OG or Scottie just doing everything in their power to make that shot as hard as possible. So yeah, but like on offense, these two kind of like systems or whatever, they don't seem to work in tandem. But I mean, you do need more than one thing, on a team, unless you just have, like a Steph Curry or something. You kind of have to have a mixture of different things. But it'd be interesting to see, it's still early in the season, like if they can figure out a way to kind of have both of those. I think if they could have both of those clicking at the same time, if you have the Jakob and Dennis pick and roll, and Scottie being aggressive and driving and stuff like that then would be very difficult to like plan for, because you've got. It's funny that Jakob is like such a good pick and roll player, because like, what does he pop? What's his pop per 10? It's got to be like 1. Like he's only popping like 10% of these pick and rolls. And so it's not that what he's doing is unpredictable. It's more so he's really good at angles and kind of maneuvering his way to the basket. Like he's not going to beat you with speed. He's strong, but he's not like a bully ball player. He's got nice footwork around the basket. But I think he's more of like a trigonometry guy. He's just like, he doesn't really get taken off his line too much. And Dennis is kind of the same way. They're both kind of similar in that way, where it's kind of hard to move them out of what they're doing. And so when they're working in tandem like that, there might not be as many. I mean, there's basically like Jakob has basically eliminated shots outside of 3 feet. So he's not popping really. But the other thing that makes him dangerous on those is his passing ability, because if you run a pick and roll at the top, like kind of your classic motion offense with Dennis at point guard and Jakob setting the screen, you're going to have back cutters ideally. So that could be Scottie, that could be Gary, that could be Pascal. So Jakob is really good at finding those guys too, like along the baseline. So that also makes that setup, dangerous and hard to guard. But it's like, in those positions where you want to have guys at the corner, how do you then also have Scottie kind of be, because you're not going to have him he's not probably going to be at the elbow if Jakob's at the elbow. He's not going to be facilitating if Dennis is facilitating. And like, yeah, he can do back cuts. He can be in the corner for 3, but that's not really the same as attacking. And so, I mean, I'm sure that's probably one of the main topics in the coaching staff is like, how do we integrate these two systems together a little bit more, and can they like positively affect the offense in general? Because on their own, they're like, both of them have been pretty effective. I don't have the like synergy data. I think synergy changed their name to something else. I don't know. There was a really good play. Okay, so Malachi, little note for Malachi. Some people have pointed this out. He's looking at his feet before taking threes, and it just kind of drives me insane. It's like you're taking your focus away from the. It's like when you're driving, you always want to look at what you're like, what's this? What did they say? It's like you always go where you're looking, kind of thing. So if you're taking that second to look at your feet, you're kind of like breaking up your. He does it a lot too. It's just like you have time before you get the ball, especially these are like catch and shoots as well. Like you have time to figure that out. And speaking of Malachi, another really incredible moment. 14 seconds left in the third quarter. Scottie like jumps over Malachi to get the block. Can't remember who he blocked. It might have been Booker, but he was like kind of chatting a little bit with Booker on the perimeter. And then I don't know if it was Booker that drove or he passed it, but yeah, Scottie had to basically, and the reverse angle was amazing. The broadcast showed kind of the overhead angle on that, where Scottie, like, it almost was like in a dunk contest where people just like jump over other people. Like he cleared Malachi to get the block and he basically pinned it. We'll call it a pin. Smashed it against the backboard, and I thought that was a big momentum. That was a big momentum play. That was kind of right at the end of the third quarter. The Raptors were on a 14-6 run at that point. And then, McDaniels, he gets a steal. This is like, I think he got subbed. I don't know if he got subbed out after this, but he got a steal and then like threw it to himself to kind of go out and transition. But I don't know if he thought there was backspin on the ball when he threw it, or I don't know, but it went out of bounds, and it was just a really stupid play at a really kind of like it was a close game, like the whole game. So there was all these like little plays that I had in my head of if this, and then there was the goaltending that didn't get called. I praised the refs for that, but they did miss a goaltending. I think it was Eubanks, famously former Raptor legend Drew Eubanks, who was waived. He wasn't great tonight. He had there was like one dunk or like almost a dunk that it just kind of summed up. It's a pretty brutal miss for. Just it always blows my mind when people who are like 7 feet tall miss dunks. It's just, as someone who's much shorter than that, it's just like, isn't it right? Isn't it pretty much right there? I thought Pascal and Scottie both got away with a travel each, so. Talking about the refs again, but yeah, Scottie plus bench, 11-2 run down the stretch in that really important part of the game, and I thought that was where it felt like they weathered that. You knew the starters were coming back in, and not only did they weather that, but they like crushed it. And Gary has had a few games in a row now. Is it two? I need to look up his in-season Gary, for all 4 in-season tournament games, played better than he was kind of playing regularly. So he treated this one like it was an in-season tournament game. So that was really good. And as a plantar fasciitis sufferer, I'm very aware of what the pitfalls of that could be. And honestly, when you kind of look at, because mechanically his shot didn't look any different. That was kind of the weird part of it. Like usually when people go on slumps, there's kind of a noticeable, but if you've got plantar fasciitis, your workouts your cardio might change. Your jumping's definitely going to change. Like you don't want to jump very hard on it multiple times. So if you're used to doing a jumping routine that's like a lot of box jumps or anything to do with jumping and landing is especially off of the foot, or so any like one-legged stuff, you're either cutting that from your workout or having to do it at a way easier level. So all that stuff can affect your shot, and it kind of makes sense why, because like even his free throws, like mechanically they looked basically the same, but he was shooting like 40% from the free throw line at one point. So yeah, it's good to see him really bounce back. He had 13 tonight, 5 for 13 from the field. Low-key 5 rebounds for Gary. So that's, 5 rebounds and 2 assists. Might have to look into it. Might be the first game he's had more than an assist. He up until last game, I need to check the numbers again, but he had 13 assists on the season. So it was 1 assist per 24 minutes on the floor. So he did good. He did really good with that. He played 25 minutes, so he doubled his assist rate in this game. Malachi, kind of another rough game from Malachi. 0 for 3 from the floor. But, got some rebounds, 5 rebounds. So, Gary and Malachi, 10 rebounds combined. You got to take that for sure. And then Precious Achiuwa, 10 rebounds. So 20 rebounds for Achiuwa, Trent, and Flynn. It's definitely more than the Suns bench. They got 2, 4, 1, 3, 6. So I guess per capita more for the Raptors. I don't really understand the Boucher stuff. Boucher 3 minutes tonight. Here's the Boucher stat line. You ready for this? 0 for 0 from the field, 0-0 from 3, 0-0 from the free throw line, 0 offensive rebounds, 0 defensive rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers, 0 fouls, 0 plus or minus, 0 points. Did you guys get all that? You write all that down? You want me? I need to go over that again. I can't even remember him playing in this game. I only remember the only still frame shot I remember in my brain is him wanting to go to the end of the bench to sit in his meme chair, and there was somebody there, and it was kind of a funny I'm already here. But he only played 3 minutes in this game, so I thought he played really well last game. I thought in general he's been playing really good. He's hitting the three at a 45% clip, I think, on the year. Interesting that especially in the Eubanks minutes, they're kind of built the same. So I don't know about that one. I have no. If you would have told me before the game that the Raptors bench would play really well, to the point where it's going to be maybe the topic in the thumbnail or the title, and Boucher was only 3 minutes, I would have been So it kind of makes that Scottie lineup even crazier because you don't have Boucher out there, you have McDaniels. So it's hey, this lineup that has really struggled to score, this is why it's kind of wild. This lineup that's really struggled to score, to be effective, eye test and numbers wise. We're gonna take one of the statistically maybe the best so far this season 3-point shooter out of that lineup, and we're gonna put in McDaniels, who I think has hit 2 threes on the season, or maybe 3 now, 2 or 3. And when we're gonna put them out there in the fourth quarter in a 3 possession game. Okay. And it worked. I don't really have an amazing explanation as to why it worked, other than just amazing energy and Scottie looking to be a killer, and then finding guys in the process of being a killer, instead of being okay, Malachi, you're going to bring the ball up. Okay, Precious, you're going to bring the ball up. It was no, it was pretty much for that lineup. It was Scottie bringing the ball up, Scottie driving, being aggressive, finding guys in the corner. And yeah, he really kind of saved things. Kind of wild. Dennis had, so this is what I mean about the tale of two halves, where you have you have Dennis with 12 assists on the game. 10 of those were in the first half. So that's what I mean by first half was just so dominated by the Dennis Jakob pick and roll that you have 10 of his 12 assists coming in the first half. And then in the second half, it just kind of disappears for the most part. Siakam 9 for 21. I mean, good defense, 9 rebounds. But 3 turnovers and 9 for 21 is tough. 1 for 5 from 3. We got to talk about the 3-pointer. He's taking all of these, I need somebody look up the stats. How many of these have come in the first half of a game? I feel like he's taken 80% of his threes in the first half. And it's at halftime, he realizes oh yeah, that's not in my bag. That's something I have to add in the off season. not during the season in selectively first halves and kind of seeing how it works, going 1 for 5 or 0 for 4, and then realizing like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that in the second half. Like, it just seems to happen almost every game. And it's not so much that he's, taking the threes. It's the nature of a lot of them. They're like pull-up threes or 17 seconds left in the shot clock. I don't know. But he seems like very determined to make that a thing. And I think it kind of it definitely can derail things. I think he's been in the post, like numbers wise, one of the most effective players down low, like in the entire league. And he's shooting like 21% from 3. So something's kind of off there. And but he hit all his free throws. Raptors go 18 for 21 from the free throw line. Imagine that. 86% from the free throw line. Even Precious went 3 for 4. Pretty incredible. OG, kind of a weird game. Like only 1 bucket or 2 buckets. He hit a big 3 down the stretch, but like one or 2 buckets in the second half. Again, only took 5 threes. I feel like I talk about this. I feel like I'm repeating myself every game, but he keeps, how many fucking games? He's 3 for 5 from 3. I mean, they won, so you can't be that mad. But like, there's so many games where he's like 3 for 5, 2 for 5, 2 for 5, still 40%. He needs to take more threes. It's like the best consistent 3-point shooter on the team. And I would also be curious, like, how many of his threes have come from Scottie assists. He's not a self-creator. OG's not a self-creator, really, on the perimeter. As Will Lewis pointed out, he has one post move, which is just, move backwards into the person. But yeah, the 3 thing, like, that's another... I think those are the 3, big... not issues, but like things you could really juice the offense is, the Jakob Dennis pick and roll, increasing that with the Scottie aggression, and then also getting OG more threes. I think like those 3 things are really key for a not so amazing offense. And again, like I mentioned this, I forget what game it was, but this team, they, the old Canucks I used to follow used to do this all the time, where like they just play better against the good teams and then the bad teams. And it's kind of like frustrating, I guess, as a fan watching, because it's like, where was this against the Nets, for example, or against the Portland Trailblazers? But yeah, what are the folks saying in the chat? Hermes Curry, bro. OG and Scottie should be untouchable on this team. They pair up so perfectly. I mean, I think they pretty much are. Like, you've heard what was offered for like OG. I think there's like four first round picks. I don't know how valuable they were though, if they're like in the 20s. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the organization is like, gonna do anything with that. Although his contract situation is weird. Angelo, did Pascal look mad? Looked like he got mad that Dennis didn't pass him the ball with 24 seconds left. I think I kind of remember that. I'm going to say yeah, probably, because I do kind of remember that. Gubstown Clink, that was so amazing. And the no look to Siakam too. Both were great. Also, I don't know, I missed something, but he also said, the Gubs says, we are good against small ball teams that can handle traditional big men like Nurk. Big teams like Lakers, Wolves are tough for us, as well as teams that play, add the Cavs to that as well as teams that play us like Bucks, Celtics, Magic, Clippers, that play like us. Yeah, I mean the Raptors have had trouble against quite a few teams this year. But yeah, it's definitely like teams with that's why the Timberwolves win is kind of, I need to go rewatch that, because at the time it didn't really seem like it was like, oh, that's a good win, the first win of the season, but it's like, fuck, I watched the Timberwolves last night. I don't know, that sometimes the days blend in together, but you watch the Timberwolves and it's like, I need to go watch that Raptors W again, because yeah, they're operating with multiple size. But yeah, it is the Clevelands that give the Raptors a lot of trouble, because so much of the Dennis Jakob pick and roll, because Jakob isn't a popper. I don't know why that's funny, but he's not a popper. So if he's not popping, then he's shopping for buckets at the rim. And if he's shopping for buckets at the rim, that's where Mobley and Allen love to hang out. So that shuts that off. And then Scottie's drives, that also gets not shut off, but they can pack the paint on those and take that. So if you take those two kind of systems and not take them away, but make them a lot difficult to work with, then you're going to shut down what makes the 28th best offense in the league go. And a team like the Suns, who don't have that, Jakob is able to get position, and not have it. Not, I don't know how many blocks the Suns had as a team. Did Eubanks get a couple blocks? How many blocks did the Phoenix Suns get tonight? They had 2 blocks. Or no. Watanabe had 2 blocks. Good for him. Eubanks 1 block. Nurkic 2 blocks. So they had 5 blocks as a team. It's 1.25 a quarter. So 0.1 every minute. And yeah, so like not a ton of blocks happening. And so the actions that the Raptors are kind of best at running are able to run a lot smoother when you don't have. So yeah, if you're if you're the Raptors looking down the road, you definitely would not want to play Cleveland in a playoff series. Mitchell Robinson and the Knicks might be a bad matchup. Even Miami's got some good. Hawkes is pretty nuts. Bam's just a crazy defender. They've had good games against the Celtics, like strong games against the Celtics. Like they've played better against the Celtics than they probably should, in relation to how good the Celtics are. And the Celtics are a team, Porzingis is better as a defender, but Williams isn't there anymore for those crazy off-ball blocks. Horford's a step slow. They're not killing you with size. It's so much more IQ. I don't know why I'm talking about the Celtics, but those are the teams that the Raptors would potentially, like, not saying they'd win in the playoffs, but would be better than maybe you would expect. And then the teams like the Cavs, it might be like not as amazing. You know what I mean? It's a good point though. JB1 and says, with proper chemistry, we have a Rookie of the Year, a Most Improved, a FIBA MVP, and all defense. Is that OG? Oh yeah, he's second team. Going crazy in our starting lineup. It's very that seems very promotional, but I can understand it. Timber says Australians, sorry. Dumb and Dumber moment there. Another shrimp on the Barbie for the Austrian. Timber. Austrians are basically just mountain Germans, so that makes sense. Yeah, I'm like 12% Austrian, I want to say. Something like that. Jalen McDaniels on that Malachi development path says vegan grass. I don't really know what that means, but I kind of... I put a thing on Twitter about McDaniels and Malachi. So they're both born in 1998. They're both born in Seattle. They both grew up playing in Seattle, and then they both played together at San Diego State in California, and now they both play together on the Raptors. So they've gone like Washington, California, Toronto. So they're like, I don't know if they're like friends or something, but they have just a lot of weird synergies together. So the Flash says Bill Kennedy, the GOAT ref. I do enjoy. I guess if there's one ref I do enjoy, I would say it's him. He's great on the mic. Like his antics are always funny. He always like he said today like the head coach of the Toronto Raptors is challenging. It's just like he just adds these kind of like weird little things in there. And yeah, he's totally like Rob Schneider to me. Just his like facial expressions. And he's also pretty yoked. Like he's definitely hit the weights over the last couple of years. So shouts to him. Alana says little jumps in the audio, but you're blessed. Yeah, I don't know why it does that. Some people fighting. Scottie's development. They won. Blah, blah, blah. TZ says Scottie sometimes gets in that aggressive mode, and I'm so hyped he was doing that a lot to start this season. Yeah, that's kind of the like ongoing mystery in a way where it's like, can it be something that's always on? Because when it is, it just like he can take over the game, you know? And it's weird because players like him, you know, not a guard, not like it's an interesting archetype for like, he's not a high usage guy. He's not the Allen Iverson type that, or the Kobe type that, or even the Damian Lillard archetype that can, you know, take over the game. But in a game like with Booker and Durant, he's able to do that because he's so effective on both sides of the floor. It's just like this constant bolt of energy that's just like going back and forth on either side, and it just like doesn't stop. But then you look at the first half and that just like wasn't there. So it's just one of the, it's like, I mean, we'll probably never know. You know, people will write articles and talk about like theories and stuff, but it's been under two coaches that we've kind of seen it. So it's probably like a mental thing or like a philosophy thing. It could be like a Jimmy Butler thing. LeBron kind of used to do that too, where he'd like suss out the game. It's just, I don't know if the Raptors are like good enough to do that. But yeah, when it clicks and when it happens, and it's not like it's rare. Like it's not like, oh, it's, you know, it never happened or only happens once. It's not like it's rare. It's just that if you were able to like sustain that, I mean, like it's, the upside is just like crazy to think about. Like, yeah, he's, especially now that the three is there. I know some of the like NBA podcasters are like, they're saying they don't believe in the three yet. I disagree because I think the mechanics are like really spot on. He came into the league. His shot was pretty, I remember that one clip of him like in the corner. I think it was like his first year. And, you know, like, I don't think KD shoots like this normally, but at the free throw line, KD like holds the ball at his knee. It's kind of wild. Like he holds like at his knee and then brings it like all the way up. Like the ball travels like 80 feet. But Scottie kind of used to shoot like that, kind of in this like slow, rickety, almost like Bilal Coulibaly shot pre-draft when they were doing the Bilal Coulibaly videos on YouTube, being like, this is his release. He's dipping a lot. There's a lot of kind of moving parts to it. It's not very fast. It kind of reminded me of like Scottie's old shot. And now with the three, it's just so snappy. Like it's what 80% of all the great shooters in the NBA have, which is that just lightning quick, fluid motion. And it's difficult. It's difficult to do something fast and fluid. It's like that's one of the harder things to master in shooting, is like the combination of those two. And I think because he has that, because you can be fast and messy, or you can be slow and fluid. You know, the Kyle Anderson three is very, I guess that's a bad example, but you can be slow and kind of, Gallinari is a good example. I don't know why that name came, but Danilo Gallinari, you know, it's just like, but it's really fluid, but it's not coming off super fast, but he gets that thing off. I'm not saying he doesn't get that thing off. Or you can be really fast and just kind of, messy, just sporadic. So the fact that he's fast and fluid, that's why I buy it, because it looks repeatable. There was one stretch, I'm bad with time, but I think it was like 3 weeks ago, where it started to kind of go back a little bit to last year, which is going to happen. Development, not to get like therapy-ish, but development in anything is not a straight line. It's a cliche, but it is true. And there's a couple games where he was kind of reverting back to that old, just a little bit more like, I don't know if janky's the right word, but like pushing more too. Like they were long, like they were hitting long. And now he's, I don't mean now. It was only like a couple games. And there was one game I remember in particular. I can't remember who they were playing, but he missed, I think, 2 threes in the first quarter. Might even been 3. It was at least 2. And then in the second quarter, he made one with the improved mechanics, and he made that universal sports face of kind of, like, of course, like duh, I'm supposed to shoot it like this. And pretty much since then, it's been back to, like, I think he's almost at he's at like 38. I think now probably last couple of games maybe up to 40%. So if he's shooting that at a 40% clip, it's like, it's just talking kind of, fantasizing about ways that he can develop. If that, aggressiveness to drive or to, for whatever reason, like, isn't there, the 3 ball can be something that he can go to if for whatever reason maybe the defense is different or there's too much rim protection or they're collapsing on him. I think with the 3-point shooting, I think even for him, there could be a higher volume of it. Like, there could be, I don't think anybody is going to tell him to be less aggressive. I don't think anyone is going to be like, hey, like, slow down a little bit. Like, and maybe that's what it is. Like, maybe there's times in the first half of this game in particular where it's like that hasn't really set in for him yet. It's like when you get a new job, or not new job, but like something good happens and it doesn't really click in yet. Like, that could be part of it, because it does seem to be like, we all know what it is. Like, it was around halfway through the third quarter. It's just different. Like, it's just flips. Like, he just turns into like just a ball of energy, and it's different. So, yeah, if they can get that, 48 minutes, when I'm out there for 40, just that for 48 minutes a game, and this team is, going to win the next 60 games or something. But, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my notes. Maybe look at anything else from the box score standout. Holy shit, KD took 30 shots. I mean, good for him. You're Kevin Durant, but that's rare. That's like rare even in today's NBA to get up 30 shots. That's serious. But no Beal, and Booker was 2 for 12. So, I mean, Nurk 8 for 12. Low key, I didn't realize that. Gordon 4 for 9. Okogie 2 for 4. Although Matt says Okogie, so I don't know anymore. I thought it was Okogie. Sportsnet fired one of their big people today. I don't know if people saw that, but everybody online was freaking out about it. Put your thoughts in the chat. Yeah, Utah, tough game for Utah. 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. 2 blocks, which is nice, but I guess he seems like a really meditative. He's got this, what is it, the Shoshin brain, the beginner's mind, the Tao Te Ching. He might not be tapped into that whole like revenge energy. I think he might be a little bit more Satori. Is it the Satori moment? Yeah, I think he's above that. Like, I need to get this like petty revenge on this team that cut me. I think maybe he's a little bit more dialed into bigger ideas and principles than that. So, but I'm sure there's still a part of you that wants the competitiveness. So yeah, it was a tough game for him. Somebody on YouTube, I can't remember who, but they made a video about him saying that he was the best shooter in the NBA. It's one of those like the commentary channels. They just say whatever's happening that week, but it's like they say it in a way that's like permanent. So I like to go back to that once in a while. Gubstown, the Gub says, regarding the Celtics, Missoula is so set in his rotations, it's exploitable. Every game I've watched is the same rotation the minute. I think managing the egos in Boston is like juggling flaming dildos. Wow, very descriptive. I noticed that like everybody on Boston is like an INTP. I don't know if anybody's into Myers-Briggs, but you got like Porzingis seems pretty introverted. Jaylen Brown seems pretty introverted. Jason Tatum seems pretty introverted. Holiday seems pretty introverted. Derek White seems kind of, I don't know, that it doesn't really seem to be ego-ish. Jaylen Brown's definitely like a rabbit hole guy. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think Jaylen Brown and Bones Highland could have some interesting conversations about things. Timber, Darko freaks me out when he subs Scottie in the fourth. When he subs Scottie in the fourth around 5 minutes ago. Yeah, that's when he puts in OG plus bench, which was hilarious. He subs out Scottie plus bench, puts in OG plus bench, which is like, I'm like, is this the THC oil? I'm seeing OG, Jalen McDaniels, Malachi, Precious, and somebody else in a like 2-possession game in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that was wild. And Phoenix got a bucket, and so that lineup played together for I think about 18 seconds. And they called a timeout and said nope. So I don't know what they were expecting from that. I don't know if that was a bluff, and for OG, who had only hit one shot in the half, you're gonna put him out there with the I think it might have been Gary been out there. I think it was Gary, OG, Malachi, Precious, and Jalen McDaniels. Like that's just a wild lineup to have in a high leverage situation. And after that, they got in. I don't know if Siakam came back in right away, but Dennis and Jakob came back in, established some sanity. I thought Dennis took a couple bad shots down the stretch, which he kind of does sometimes in the fourth quarter, like kind of forced. But then he had a huge bucket where he drove like once. I don't know if it was against Nurkic, but he drove once, took it out, reassessed the landscape, went back in. When he went back in, I was kind of like, okay. But it worked out. He got the finger roll. Different than Jordan Poole against the Sar Thompson finger roll, but it's a huge team growth. They got it done. Scottie was scary tonight. Scottie is developing now. Enjoy the ride. We should have been here last year. Keep talking about last year, JBR round 1. Never forget the painful past. Bring it up at any moment. It's always good, like, if you're on a date, that's like the best thing to talk about is the past. Just a tip for people who are dating. Just talk about the past and how it sucked and how you don't like it. It's my tip. It's my hot tip for the day. He burnt Nurkic on that Badger milk. Infamous. It's very simple. You make your free throws, you win. The last 2 games were pretty much lost up the line. I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, again, the Raptors went like 18 for 21 from the free throw line. There's a whole butterfly effect argument or debate to be had with that point that I don't really want to get into, but I kind of see what you're coming out this with. The Flash B says a non-scoring Scottie is exactly what the other teams want. Yeah, I think if you're the opposing coach, you're definitely thinking of ways to. It's like, yeah, if I'm playing the Raptors, I'm the other coach. It's like, how do we get him in that passive mode? How do we get him in the corner? How do we get him off the ball at the 3-point line at the elbow? Like, how do we kind of take that? And I don't know if you can necessarily. I don't know if it's external like that. But as a coach, like, that would be the best way to beat the Raptors, is to have him I don't know. I think I learned this word like 8 months ago, but listless. Have him kind of like first half mode. Don't know how you do that, but yeah, that's like the secret code to beating the Raptors. Because when he's on, it's hell for the other team. So Raps W plus Kissinger L. What? Did Kissinger die? Henry Kissinger? JBR1, a Rap sabotaging Scottie's development for Henry Kissinger. Oh, he's still talking about Nick and Fred? You gotta move on, man. That's crazy. This team could be in the mix for 5th or 4th seed with a competent bench. Yeah, I think, yes, for sure. But I do think the bench has been better the last few games. I think you got to give the bench like a little bit of props. They've been I think they've outplayed the opposing team's bench in a few games kind of in a row now, kind of low under the radar, but yeah, definitely. Like, if you had a consistent Otto Porter Jr., that would be really nice. Don't know what happened with Boucher tonight. That's just kind of weird. But, yeah, pretty cool win, I think Will is probably going to be happy on his show, so I'll probably go check that out. Probably get some cereal. I discovered cereal again recently. If anybody has any cereal tips for me, I've been out of the game for a long time, but I got Lucky Charms, and they're very good. I know it's not healthy for you. I kind of like having it at night. It's kind of a nice like at night thing to have. It's a little sugary for the mornings. Mornings I go smoothie and like vegetarian breakfast bagel thing. Switched from vegan to vegetarian recently. I missed sidekicks past the sidekicks past the things. I missed those, so I switched back. It's my morning routine. I should be charging for this. Mazar M. Jakob Poeltl has the highest field goal percentage in the NBA. Were you on the stream? You must not have been on the stream last night. I did a whole breakdown about this. This is Brad Faye's favorite stat in the world. Yes, Jakob Poeltl has the highest field goal percentage in the NBA. He is shooting 88% at the rim and 43% from 3 feet and out. He's not providing any spacing whatsoever. So there's a lot of caveats with that stat. I could go out to the playground right now and be the tallest man in the playground right now, but then when I step out of the playground, I'm not. So that's my metaphor. I think it's pretty good. Go watch last night's stream. That's a Brad Face stat. I'm sorry, it's a Brad Face stat. Good try though. Or thanks. I mean, not good try. Thanks for the contribution, but let's come on. But yeah, he played really well tonight. Again, he was brought in to be a P&R guy. With Fred, but with Dennis, they've pretty much had chemistry from the jump. Like Jakob and Scottie have really good chemistry, and then Jakob and Dennis have really good chemistry. So I think with other passers, Jakob has really good chemistry because again, Jak's not the strongest guy, he's not the fastest guy. He's shooting 43% from 3 feet and out, but his ability to pass, his ability to hit cutters, like. I don't know how many times he's hit back cutters, which surprisingly not that many centers do. I mean, obviously you see like, I don't know if you call him a center, but you see like guys at the elbow like Draymond, Domantas Sabonis. Like these guys are always finding cutters. It's kind of like their thing, but it's Gasol was amazing at it. But that's something that Jakob really brings to this team that they didn't have before. Like Scottie can as well, but do you want Scottie operating from the elbow like that? Like, do you want Scottie in the Draymond role? I mean, I guess once in a while matchup dependent, but like I don't think that that's him maximizing his potential. So you need that passing to come from somewhere, and if you have it coming from your big like Yak, you're opening up some things on the floor like that, but in terms of spacing, it's still not ideal. Like if Yak could popped a little bit, just a little bit of pop, like if you could hit, just once in a while hit like an 8-footer, that would be massive. But just kind of based on the free throws, I don't know if that's happening. I really think that would open things up. But hey, he's got the highest. Brad Fay again, the highest. Is he the best? Hot take: is he the best shooter in the NBA? Let's talk about that. Is he the best shooter we've ever seen on this team? Yeah, come on, what are we doing? You got to add context to these stats. Oh, he's the highest field. Oh, he's got the highest. You go find the video of Yuta Watanabe is the best shooter in the NBA. Because he shot 180% for like a week at one time. Infamous says mix honey bunches with Oreos, cinnamon toast crunch. Yeah, cinnamon toast crunch is good. I feel like you can't have a lot. Like I remember that it's like it's almost like Fruit Loops. I was a big Fruit Loops head back in the day, but just in my head, I'm remembering like how sugary it is. I feel like cinnamon toast crunch is kind of at that level. Lucky Charms is like a bit much. I've been floating on Cheerios, just regular, not the like no sugar Cheerios. I accidentally bought those once, and those were horrible. Just the normal sugar Cheerios. But I feel like they probably all have as much sugar in them. I don't really eat sugar, so it's kind of this is a big step for me. It's a big deal for me, opening myself up to sugar. But I think that's pretty much it. The Raptors, I didn't talk about the sleep thing because the broadcast mentioned it about 850 times. Had Kayla Gray talking over the Precious dunk, which was amazing. Kevin Durant getting teed up for being sarcastic. That was amazing. Scottie jumping over Malachi for the block. That was amazing. There were some great moments in this. But the Tony Wonder Award, of course, I'm gonna give it to Scottie for unlocking the Scottie plus bench. If you're the Scottie plus bench, I want them, meet up somewhere, Toronto, do some mushrooms, and watch the tape from that first half of the fourth quarter, just over and over and over again. Each individual player, zoom in on each individual player, zoom out on the whole court, get music going, get idea circles, drum circles, get the cacao out, get the journal out, do some figure out how you can do that consistently. Because they've been trying that lineup over and over and over again. It's been a consistent talking point. It's like, why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep doing this? And then Darko's like, hey, let's put this thing out that hasn't worked in the high leverage situation. And I would be fascinated to know if he had an idea about that, if there was some adjustment or something he saw on the court that made him think that specific lineup might work at that time, or if it was just, let's try this for the 75th time, but either way, it totally worked. So I think that, they just watch that film over and over again and try to glean, I guess, is that the word? Anything that you can from it. I'm gonna go. I'm in Japan. Shouts to Yuta Watanabe. I'm in Japan, and I'm gonna go get some fine gelato. Something they have gelato here, I think. The famous Japanese gelato that all the people here eat. I don't know why I don't have like a Japan. I know a lot of white people are really interested in Japan. I was in Asia for a year and didn't go to Japan, so it'd be cool to go there. But I don't have the whole like, oh my god, it's from Japan. I gotta own the DVD or the Japanese Beatles. 'Cause I do like records. I do collect records, and like Japanese rock bands and Japanese cover bands are kind of like a coveted thing. Um, Whereas I'm more like, give me the Brazilian records. Good. Okay. Good stream. Good stream. Good stream. Thank you. So yeah, Scottie gets the Tony Wonder Award. If you don't know what that is, just search Tony Wonder on YouTube. Tony Wonder Arrested Development. I think Arrested Development put out like a 5-minute compilation of that. I don't usually like Ben Stiller. Like, to be honest, I think he's good in like smaller roles. Like he's okay in Curb, where Larry like takes his eye out with the chopstick. Or not the chopstick. The where's it a chopstick? Something you put into food. He hit Ben Stiller's eye with it. A skewer. I think it was a skewer. But if he's like the lead in a movie, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan, but he's great in Arrested Development. I thought he played that character really well. Love the dumbwaiter scene, but yeah. And then Anvil Award. I'm gonna go to Chris Boucher. 3 minutes tonight. Kind of weird. Don't really know what the story is on that. Thought he'd been playing better, but I don't know. So hopefully, I know he likes to like kind of look up, himself online. So hopefully he's not doing that. Hopefully he's not watched. Chris, if you're watching this right now, please don't come to my house. Don't send anybody to get me. I don't think I said anything bad about you. If I did, I'm very sorry. I know we're not allowed to say anything. Very sorry. Please don't hurt me or my family. I'll never do it again. I know I should quit podcasting because I'm a civilian. Please spare. It's the holidays, It's the holidays. So I think with that,